সুরজিৎ বাবু, সুরজিৎ বাবু, আপনি আপনার প্রেজেন্টেশনটা বন্ধ করুন। তেলেঙ্গানাতে বলে দিন।
One and all students here. On behalf of Department of Mathematics, I Devangana Panda extend a very warm and hearty welcome to one and all of you present here for the state level webinar on Cosmic Voyage. Very specific, as we all know. This webinar has been organized by Department of Mathematics in collaboration with Internal Quality Assurance Cell. Now, without further delay, moving on, I would like to request our respected Principal Sir, Dr. Joydeep Shariki, for the welcome address. Sir, can we have you on the screen, please?
Yes. Good afternoon to all. Hearty welcome to Dr. Deviprasad Tiwari, who needs no introduction. I also personally had an opportunity to listen to him a couple of times. A wonderful singer, a mesmerizing soul maker, who is doing a continuous service to all over India and even in entire parts of West Bengal regarding his area of cosmology. His talk on Cosmic Voyage will enlighten us and will ignite thinking minds for further research and further curiosity, or building up curiosity in the minds of people who are attending the webinar. So this webinar is a therapeutic in the time of coronavirus when people are home bound. We all know that we dream for the stars. We dream for the mysteries of the universe. And here is one person who is the knowledge epitome who will enlighten us this afternoon. I thank the Department of Mathematics and IQAC of the college for organizing it and really making it so successful. So far, 222 applications in this platform and some hundreds on YouTube channel prove the popularity of the speaker and the popularity of the subject. I wish this webinar will be a grand success. Thank you all participants who are following New College closely. We will organize such very timely and very interesting topics, seminars in different fields and subjects regularly. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request our beloved Vice Principal, Professor Vernal, say a few of his valuables. Sir, can we have you on the screen?
Greetings to our resource person, Dr. Deviprasad Tiwari sir, our principal, Dr. Joydeep Shariki sir, IKC coordinator, Dr. Summer Solstice, and participants. We are passing through a hard time, confined in our room, but time is running out rapidly. Engaging ourselves in self-study and listening some beautiful webinar will respected our research person, Dr. Devi Prasad Duari, our principal sir, Dr. Joydeep Sarangi, our vice principal sir, Dr. Divesh Bera. On behalf of the Department of Mathematics and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, New Alipur College, I welcome you all. During the webinar, please note the following points. Number one, please keep off your microphone and video. Number two, don't start presentation during the webinar. During the webinar, chat box is only used for question and comments. Feedback link will be given in the chat box at the end of the webinar. Participants will get e-certificate only after filling up the feedback form. And at last, important point, when filling up the feedback form, please keep in mind, avoid any typographical error in your feedback form because it will cause your e-certificate erroneous. Organizers will not be responsible for your wrong certificate. Thank you. Thank you all. Diptendu Babu, presentation to off korun ekটু.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Ejection to our audience. He is an internationally renowned astrophysicist, educationalist, and researcher. Professor Duari is presently the director of Research Academic M.P. Birla Planetarium and M.P. Birla Institute of Fundamental Research. He is a fellow of Royal Astronomical Society and member of International Astronomical Union. He is also member of National Standing Committee, Inspire Internship Program, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And also, he is associated with a number of distinguished and prestigious learned bodies and academic institutions, including Institute for Advanced Studies, Iran, University of Cambridge, UK, Manchester Institute of Science and Technology. Speaking about academic career, he did his graduation and master's in physics from Saturn University and PhD.
Comprehension.
Sorry, sir. Okay. Sorry, sir. Now I would like to introduce our esteemed guest of honor, Dr. Devi Prasad Duari, to the audience. He is an internationally renowned astrophysicist, educationalist, and researcher. Professor Duari is presently the director of Research and Academics, M.P. Birla Planetarium, and M.P. Birla Institute of Fundamental Research. He is a fellow of Royal Astronomical Society and a member of International Astronomical Union. He is also a member of National Standing Committee, Inspire Internship Program, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And also, he is associated with a number of distinguished, prestigious learned bodies and academic institutions, including Institute for Advanced Studies, Iran, University of Cambridge, UK. Manchester Institute of Science and Technology, UK. Though his qualifications and achievements are way beyond our introduction, but they are truly very encouraging, admiring, motivating, and inspiring to set an example for all of us present here. So it would be my honor to invite you on behalf of our college to enlighten us on our topic, Cosmic Voyage. So great to have you on the screen, please.
And I really would wish to thank the New Alipur College authorities, especially the mathematics department, to invite me for this webinar. And frankly speaking, I also personally feel, as mentioned by the principal and the vice principal, sir, because of the very difficult times that we are passing through, human mind is really becoming very disturbed about the future. And in this particular scenario, one tries to make oneself look into the positive direction, because problems that we are facing, we really cannot control those problems. It's a pandemic, it's a global problem. But we should be trying to be healthy, not only healthy in the body, but healthy in mind as well. Because we know that a healthy mind supports a healthy body or a healthy physique. So in that particular sense, a lot of people are trying to drive away the ideas, the thoughts about the gloom and the doom that we are actually seeing every day in television channels and newspapers, and trying to pick up new issues, new ideas, new concepts, trying to go deeper into some knowledge base so that we really understand the importance of human mind and importance of knowledge and human mind. So in this respect, the final frontier of knowledge, as you can say, is the cosmos itself. And in that particular respect, it is in the social media I'm regularly experiencing huge number of people, some amateur, some politically laymen, some very interested. They are talking about the sky, because sky is one place where one can find tremendous amount of inquisitiveness getting answer. And in this moment of criticality, this answer is what we are trying to get, keep our minds free from all the problems that are going around us. So today, as discussed, the lecture of my topic will be the Cosmic Voyage. In 1 hour, any voyage cannot be complete. So, I will make a preliminary attempt to try to take you mentally to a small journey of our cosmic neighborhood and try to give you a hint that what lies beyond even our human visibility. But the techniques, the machines, the instruments, the telescope is discovering newer and newer objects, newer and newer environment, which is telling us not only about the diversity, about the beauty of nature, but also giving us a hint that scientifically how we can go deeper into the meaning of nature and how those concepts correlates with our existence, with our life. So let me start my presentation of a cosmic point. So my young friends and respected faculty members, today let us embark upon a journey of a cosmic voyage. As I was mentioning, most of the objects, the deepest part of the cosmos, is actually unseen by human eye. But with the technological advances, we have reached a position where we can talk about the very, very farthest corner of the universe, the objects that were there billions of years back, and their light took billions of years to reach our eyes. So we not only are looking into the depth of the space, but we also are looking into the depth of time as well. And this ideas, these views, this news, this information has created a global consciousness about the sky. We have realized that though we do not consider the sky as a daily part of our everyday existence, but if there are any inquiries
any questions, any inquisitive minds asking about ourselves, asking about nature, asking about our relationship with nature, the answer lies in the sky. And that is the reason astronomy has become very important. But historically also, astronomy was important. Thousands of years back, when our ancestors used to look into the sky, they used to wonder, what is sky? Where is sky? What are those lighted dots we call stars? And is there any connection between the stars and the Earth? With these set of questions and queries, the subject of astronomy was born. So astronomy can be considered as one of the oldest subjects that human minds have dwelt upon. At the same time, given the huge number of news items that you regularly get to see in television channels and newspapers, you get an idea that it is also one of the most happening subjects in the recent times. Astronomy is a subject, as a power, it can tell us what was the physical situation in this particular region of space that we are inhabiting now. And it can also tell us millions of years later what will be the situation probably. So spanning a vast expanse of space and time, the subject that deals is astronomy. And scientists all over the world are realizing that soon astronomy will be called as the mother subject of this 21st century. And that is also the reason every country, almost every country, developing, underdeveloped, fully developed, they're desperately trying to build newer and newer facilities, bigger and bigger telescopes, because they have realized the country which will be the first to understand the deepest part of the cosmos will probably be winning the race in trying to understand what is the true meaning of nature. And that is the reason, just for example, you see in this inhospitable terrain in the Pyrenees mountain of France, they have built this observatory called Big Midi. The cost of building this observatory was $300 million. On a small island in the Hawaiian archipelago of Mauna Kea, they have 6 countries have created 9 observatories. The smallest one cost is around $500 million. So a huge amount of resources, manpower, technological resources, finance that is being spent to understand the sky. But the young generation will be happy to know the largest telescope is not yet working. The work has started in 2014, and probably by 2023, we will commission the world's largest telescope, which will be called EMT, 30-meter telescope. A telescope with a 30-meter diameter mirror at the heart of it. The cost of building this telescope is so huge, not a single country is doing it. 5 countries are collaborating in building this telescope, and amazingly, India is one of the main collaborators. The Indian government has decided to earmark 1,700 crore rupees for the construction as its contribution to the construction of this telescope. And not only TMT, radio astronomy is a very tremendously important subject area, because we know from the deep space only 2 types of wavelengths of electromagnetic spectrum penetrates the atmosphere and reaches the surface of the Earth. One is visible light, another is radio waves. So one of the most futuristic, ambitious projects in the world at present in radio astronomy is called SCAR, Square Kilometer Array. It is mostly 2 countries, one in South Africa, another in Australia. In South Africa, they are building 200 dish antennas, huge size. And in Australia, amazingly, 160,000 small dipole antennas. And one of the main international collaborators and associates of SCAR is again India. And you all know in 2016, a fascinating thing happened. In 1916, in the general theory of relativity given by Albert Einstein, one could make out that 2 very heavy compact objects, if they're going around each other, they will create a ripple in the space-time, which will be called gravitational wave. And it will travel the one corner to the other corner of the universe at the speed of light. And in 2016, this 100 years back predicted gravitational wave were developed laboratories in the US, LIGO, Laser Interferometric Gravitational Observatory. And you'll be very happy to know India is one of the proud associates of the LIGO project. And in southern India, they have already started the process of building the Indigo project, Indian Gravitational Observatory. So, as a young researcher, as a young student, as a faculty member, as a scientist, India is one of the most happening and interesting place in terms of astronomy and astrophysics. Let us start the subject itself. Thousands of years back, as our ancestors used to look into the sky, they used to wonder, what is the meaning behind those lighted dots that we call stars? But they couldn't find an answer. But in their desperation, what they did, they chose different parts of the sky, identified closely spaced stars, joined those stars through straight lines, and created imaginary figures. In this way, the whole sky was divided into 88 regions, each region being governed by an imaginary figure, which we today call constellations or Taramandal. You may think that what is in today's world, what is the big use of knowing their names and their relative positions? But if you ask me, they still do not have lost their relevance. Just to give you an idea that these imaginary pictures do play a crucial role in our lives. For an example, suppose a batch of you has gone for a hitchhiking trip, night has happened, moon is not there in the sky, you have lost your way. Suppose somebody in the morning told you that if you go in the southern direction, you will find a locality. But which is the southern direction? If you happen to see the Saptarshi Mandal, 7 stars, as it called Big Dipper, take the last 2 stars, join them in your mind, produce it onto the sky. It will hit upon a single star, and that star is the pole star. The moment you get to know the pole star, you know which is north, south, east. So even today, these sort of imaginary signs and signatures do play an important role in our lives at times.
Sir, we are requesting to present the full screen.
This is full screen presentation, right, from my point of view.
স্যার ফুল স্ক্রিন দেখা যাচ্ছে স্যার
So somebody is asking full screen presentation. Check your instrument, either the mobile phone or laptop, whatever you're using. I think that has to be taken care of. I am showing a full screen. Okay. Let us consider now the Earth and the sky surrounding it. Let us consider the Earth and the center and the sky like the inside of a globe. Take the equator of the Earth. In your mind, produce it onto the sky. On the sky, it will create a great circle, and let us call it the Celestial Equator. Now you all know Earth is going round the Sun once in 365.25 days. But if I
স্যার মিউট হয়ে গেছে
ওটা মিউট
শোনা যাচ্ছে না
ওনারটা মিউট হয়ে গেছে দেখাই যাচ্ছে ওনারটা মিউট হয়ে গেছে
হ্যালো স্যার
somebody has muted it, yeah. Now can you listen to me?
এবারটা মিউট করে দিয়েছিল
Somebody
Yes, sir,
has
yes.
muted it. I think your students are very energetic. So now if you consider that the Earth going around the Sun, what appears to us as if the Sun is going around the Earth once in one complete year. Why? Because the sky to us is just a two-dimensional surface. Along the line of sight, if I look at the Sun will be projected at one part of the sky. That way, as I go around the Sun, it will appear to us as if Sun is going around me once in one complete year. This apparent path of the Sun on the sky is called the ecliptic, the loci of eclipses. Now, again, in your childhood days, you have all learned Earth is going around the Sun around an orbit, and it goes around itself once in 24 hours around another orbit, and these two orbits are not parallel. They're inclined at an angle of 23.5 degrees. So a lot of our teachers have failed to tell us, just because they are inclined, you and I are alive on Earth. There is a human being or any life form present on the Earth. So whatever, Since these two axes are inclined to one another by 23.5 degrees, these two imaginary planes, the blue-colored celestial equatorial plane and the yellow-colored ecliptic plane, they will intersect each other on a straight line. And the endpoints of the straight lines are important. The first endpoint is called the point of vernal equinox. The word equinox comes from Latin. It means equal nights. 22nd or 23rd of March, sun appears at that point. That day, it is exactly the equal amount of daytime and nighttime all over the world. March, April, May, June, 21st or 22nd of June, sun appears at the northernmost point of the yellow-colored plane, and that day is called the Summer Solstice. It is the longest day and the shortest night in our northern hemisphere. And 22nd September, sun comes from the other extreme point, again equal amount of daytime and nighttime. And 21st or 22nd of December, sun comes at the southernmost point that day. From the northern hemisphere people, for us, it is the shortest day and the longest night. So this continuous variation of daytime and nighttime occurs just because of this accidental tilt of the different degrees. Let us now talk about our solar system. Even if we consider the sun, the earth, and the moon, most of the young students will say, we have learned this in our LKG days. What is big thing about it? Now, if I ask any one of you, can you please tell me what is the average velocity of Earth around the moon? A lot of people don't know the answer. The average velocity is 29.5 kilometers per second. Imagine a car in 1 second moving 30 kilometers. You'll say, no, it's not possible. But don't forget, you, me, 780 crore people on Earth, millions of other forms of life, every second of our existence is moving with a velocity of 29.5 kilometers per second. That is an amazing fact. For example, seasons. Why does seasons occur? That's very important. Because of this accidental tilt of 23.5 degrees, see on this photograph, as Earth is on this left-hand side of the sun, sunlight is falling directly onto the north and slanting onto the south. As it is falling directly onto the north, sunrise is getting absorbed and getting radiated in a much more quantity than in the south. And as a result, the temperature in the northern hemisphere is more than the southern hemisphere. That is the reason it is then summer in the north and winter in the south. 6 months later, when Earth comes on the other side, because of the tilt again, sunlight is falling directly onto the south and slanting onto the north. It is summer in the south, winter in the north. You can again tell me, okay, understand because of the tilt, season changes occur. But why do you have to bother about it? Do you know if there were no change of seasons, what would have happened to Earth? If there were no change of seasons, there would have been no ocean currents. If there are no ocean currents, there would have been no air currents in our atmosphere. And if there are no air currents in our atmosphere, clouds would not have born somewhere and gathered somewhere else and gave us rain and fresh water. Life would not have been possible because just after Earth was born, it would have been a barren desert. So that you and me exist now, one of the factors is that because of the change of season. And that happens because of the accidental tilt of the Earth's spinning axis. Eclipse, solar eclipse. Now we all know what is a solar eclipse. One side is the sun, middle is the moon, one side is the Earth. Sun's rays falling onto the moon, moon shadow falling onto a small patch of space on Earth, and people staying on that patch of space at that point of time will see a solar eclipse. It's a wonderful feeling to actually observe. And you see in this photograph taken by a satellite how the shadow of the moon has fallen on the globe of the Earth. The next picture is more dramatic. As Earth is spinning, see how the shadow of the moon crosses the globe of the Earth. And it is called the path of total solar eclipse. At the maximum, it can be around 900 kilometers in thickness. It is only a month back, almost a month back, we know that the whole country was excited because of this wonderful occasion of annular solar eclipse. Though in Kolkata and other parts, we could not see an annular eclipse. It was a partial eclipse from here. But places like Dehradun, Joshimath, or places in Haryana or Rajasthan, they could see this wonderful picture where you can see the ring of fire and is called an annular solar eclipse. It was during this eclipse, during such eclipse, scientists discovered sun as a new avatar. They found out from the surface of the sun, milky white radiation is coming out which cannot be seen on other times. When they asked themselves the question, what is causing this? They were amazed with the answer. They found out from the surface of the sun every second, 16 lakh tons of charged particles are coming out. These charged particles, as they move through the magnetic field of the sun, they produce this milky white radiation. The average velocity of these charged particles are 450 kilometers per second. With that speed, they have enough momentum, enough energy. If they hit any atom or molecule, instantaneously they will break apart. That means after the lecture, if I go and stand on the sun, the charged particle coming from the surface of the sun, the moment they hit my body within fraction of a second, my whole body should disintegrate. But I'm alive. How? I'll come to that. Tides are very, very important phenomena. Because, my friend, in your childhood days, you have all learned life first occurred on the oceans. So how did it came onto the land? Suddenly it grew legs and came onto the land? No. Every day, high tide used to wash ashore multicellular organisms. The water used to go down. These organisms used to get stranded on land and used to get killed. But over millions of years, they got the adaptation of staying alive on land, and from different organisms happened, different animals evolved, and ultimately monkeys arrived, and from the monkeys, we have arrived. So that we are here is because tides are there. Now if I ask you, why does tide occur? Most of you know the answer. You will say it is moon which is attracting the water on the earth, causing the tide. But my friend, if you use your class 11 knowledge of Newton's laws of gravity, you can show by a small calculation that the sun is attracting earth 173 times more than the moon does. Then why do you say it is moon which is attracting the water, not the sun? Because, my friend, tide is not a force. It is rather resultant of quite a number of force over unit distance, or what is known as force derivative. And that is the reason, since moon is 384,000 kilometers away and sun is 15 crore kilometers away, moon wins. But a lot of our teachers have never told us in our childhood days, sun also attracts the water on the earth. You know how much? 47% than the moon does. Now let me tell you one thing. As earth is spinning around itself once in 24 hours, one particular region on earth will see the moon only once in 24 hours. Then why it is that there are two high tides again? Because when earth is facing the moon one side, the particular geographical region, there are two forces acting on the water. One is the force of gravitational attraction towards the moon, and one is the centrifugal force. And if you do the calculation, the force of gravity is more than the centrifugal force, and that is the reason you see high tides occurring. But just 180 degrees away, the centrifugal force now becomes more than the gravitational force, and water bulges in the other direction as well. So that is the reason we see two high tides a day. Beautiful picture of the moon. Actually, it is the surface of the moon from where you are seeing Earth arising from the horizon. What is moon? According to the scientists, 460 crore years back, a huge rock came and slammed onto the Earth. With such a force, huge amount of surface material got gouged up and was thrown up in space. This happened actually 452 crore years back. Huge amount of material was thrown up into space. But this material couldn't go away forever, but going to a very vast distance for millions of years, it condensed, coagulated, coalesced, and has given birth to a moon, probably. This theory is the most subscribed theory and is called the collision ejection theory. Now, my friend, it is now a time to start our actual journey out of the earthly bounds into this dark depth of space and time. Why I'm using the word space and time? Because we all know, 1905, when Albert Einstein gave a lot of theories out of that, we came to know that light travels at a velocity of 3 lakh kilometers in vacuum and its speed is constant. Now the distance from Sun to Earth is 15 crore kilometers. 3 lakh kilometers per second is the velocity of light. If you do a simple division, any class 6, 7, 8 textbooks in geography will tell you the distance between Sun and Earth is 8.3 light minutes. Or light takes 8.3 minutes to come from Sun to Earth. But what is the physical significance of this? If you now go out and stand on the Sun, look at the Sun for a fraction of a second and tell yourself, the Sun I saw now, this is the image of the Sun as it was 8.3 minutes back. The closest star, Proxima Centauri. If today the sky is clear, look at the star and tell yourself, the star I am seeing, it is the image of the star as it was 4.2 years back. So my friend, in your childhood, in your house, if your younger brother or sister requests you or your parents to take them to the Science City and spend 50 rupees on a time machine ride, never. In any clear night, go out into the open, tilt your head, the deeper you are seeing your own past. We don't understand that. The moment we look into the night sky, we are not only looking into the depth of space, but we are looking into the depth of time in our past. So it's a fantastic point. The solar system. These are the true color pictures of the main avatars of the solar system. Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And poor Pluto has been kicked out. We have all learned Sun, our nearest star, our central object in our solar system, is made up of gas. Now, friend, tell me, if I take a football, pump in a lot of colored gas, cut open the football, will the gas inside remain like a ball? It will diffuse out. Then how come Sun being a ball of gas is not diffusing out into the sky? What does the scientist say? According to the scientists, 460 crore years back, a huge cloud of gas and dust was floating in space. This cloud was made up of, in terms of number of particles, 91% hydrogen, 8% helium, 1% rest other element. The average temperature of this gas cloud was minus 240 degrees centigrade. At this very cold temperature, out of the 4 fundamental forces of nature, only one type of force comes into play, and that is the force of self-gravity. The force of self-gravity will attract the periphery of this gas cloud towards the center. As the gas goes towards the central density rises. As the density rises, the pressure builds up. As the pressure rises, temperature builds up. And ultimately, starting from minus 240 degrees centigrade, the temperature rose to a fascinating level of 1.5 crore degrees centigrade. And at that temperature, 4 hydrogen nuclei or 4 protons, as if they come together, fuse together and produce a helium nucleus. It is actually 2 hydrogen nuclei fusing to give you a deuterium. A deuterium with another hydrogen nuclei makes 3 helium, and 2 3 heliums fuse together to produce a 4 helium and 2 free protons. So effectively, it is 4 hydrogen nuclei giving rise to a helium nucleus. This thermonuclear fusion reaction in our Earth, scientists have been able to perform it. But till some day back, it was very difficult for them to control it. But inside the Sun, with a very regulated manner, when 4 hydrogen nuclei gets converted to helium, huge amount of energy gets produced. This energy, as it tries to come out from the center, it produces a back pressure or a radiation pressure. This radiation pressure, when it exactly matches and balances the inward force of gravity, Sun being a ball of gas, remains hanging there for millions of years without dissipating. It's an amazing feeling. How did the solar system happen? According to the scientists, 460 crore years back, when this huge spherical, almost spherical cloud of gas and dust was floating in space, it had a small spin. And because of the spin, as it became small, it never became a small spherical object. Because of the conservation of angular momentum, it condensed into a disk. At the central part of the disk, when the temperature rose to 1.5 crore degrees centigrade, Sun was born. And in the outer periphery, when the temperature was less, gas and dust condensed, coagulated, coalesced, and has given birth to our planetary system.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you. We
Yes.
all are facing one problem, that is the presentation screen is not the full screen. Like it is shifted to one side. Can you please adjust the screen, sir? Like the comment box is like flooded with the same problem, sir. Everyone is facing the same problem.
Okay, see, in my laptop, it is showing the central part. Is anybody else sharing the screen?
Yes, sir. Can you just shift your laptop towards, I guess, the right? Because the right side of the presentation is not visible at all, sir. And we all are facing the same problem.
Okay, I do not know because, okay, I will again stop sharing and start.
Thank you, sir. Like, actually, the comment box is flooded with the same problem.
Okay,
That's
I understand because, but I feel almost helpless because here it is more or less showing me the same thing. I mean, it's a central thing, but let me check as you said. I can't help
sir.
it.
Thank you, sir.
Now is it okay? Now is it okay?
One second, sir.
No, sir.
Huh?
Please share.
Okay, I'll check. Oh. And this has never happened earlier.
Sir, please share your screen, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Sir, kindly check the aspect ratio. Kindly check the aspect ratio of it.
Okay.
If you change the aspect ratio, then it will come in the full screen.
Just about. Yeah. That's now. Somebody called RTLS58 is also sharing the video, sharing the screen. RTLS58. I do not know who is that. I've changed everything that you said. I think I cannot really do anything beyond this.
Yes.
So actually,
This is okay. This is okay.
Okay, sir. Now coming
so somebody is sharing the screen. That's what I told you. You have to tell others to be kind enough not to share the screen because they are not showing anything. And I can see that somebody was. Now it has gone. Right. Okay. Whatever. So if I bring down the sun from the sky, cut it like a watermelon, inside there are three regions. The very central part where the thermonuclear fusion reaction is going on, it is called the core. And then the energy that is produced in the core, for a huge volume, it flows freely. That is called the radiative zone. And sun is very funny looking. From the surface, up to a depth of 650 to 700, heat comes from its inside, hits the bottom layer of the gas pillar. Gas, when it is heated, rises up, comes to the surface, deposits the heat as sunlight, and becomes cold and like a fountain goes down and continuously dredges the heat from inside. This is called the convective zone. Outwardly, sun is again divided into three regions. The sun that you get to see in the early morning or evening is called the photosphere. Over the photosphere, in a very thin layer, exquisitely pink-colored gas can be seen, and that is called the chromosphere. And over the chromosphere, for thousands of kilometers, a milky white radiation called corona. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. Corona in Latin means crown, as if sun is wearing a crown. These are the two beautiful pictures of the photosphere on the left-hand side and the chromosphere on the right-hand side. You see on the left-hand side, the photosphere, these granulations. If you look deeply, they are like these beehives. Each cell is a column of gas. As the heat is coming through the middle of the column, it is lighted. The moment it comes on the surface, deposits the heat and becoming cold, going round, the heat is missing, and that is typically dark in color. The typical size of each of these cells is 950 to 1,000 kilometers in diameter. And this is one of the most beautiful pictures of nature, the solar corona, right? Taken during a total solar eclipse, milky white radiation coming out from the surface of the sun. Sun sometimes becomes active. You get to see black splotches, colored uppers on the surface of the sun. Sometimes one, sometimes 10, 20 in a group. They are called sunspots. What are they? The average surface temperature of Sun is 5,500 degrees centigrade. At this temperature, gas cannot remain as gas. It becomes what is known as plasma. Plasma has a property. Wherever there is a magnetic field, plasma will try to get deflected from it. On the surface of the Sun, very randomly, small pockets of magnetism will form. A column of plasma trying to bring the heat from inside, if it realizes that there is a magnetic field above it, it will not come out straight. It will take the heat away from different directions. No heat comes out from this region. It will typically look dark, and we call it sunspots. So sunspots are regions of magnetic activities on the surface of the Sun. This picture gives us the true image of the Sun. Taken in 2012 by SDO, Solar Dynamical Observatory, the cost of the project was $1.2 billion. Sun is not a smooth object. Tremendous amount of explosions are happening every second on the surface of the Sun. Thousands of tons of gas are getting thrown up from the surface, reaching a height of 15 to 25,000 kilometers, making beautiful arch and loops, falling back onto the surface of the Sun. Sometimes they get thrown out with such a huge force, they get detached from the surface and flow past the whole solar system like a solar wind or solar storm. The next picture is an amazing picture. You see, in this true picture, you see gas coming out from the surface, making a beautiful arch and loop, falling back onto the surface. Do you know what is the size of this cavity? 3 Earths can go side by side inside this region. Amazing. And this charged particle, as I mentioned, continuously coming out from the surface of the Sun. As I mentioned earlier, if they hit you, me, anything around, instantaneously they should be destroyed, vaporized. But while we are alive, today you come to know, all you young students, we are alive on Earth because of nobody, no powerful person, no political party, but because of some accident, chance happening. And one of the chance happening is that the Earth behaves like a bar magnet. Around the Earth, like a peels of an orange, there is an invisible magnetic shield. These charged particles, they come and slam onto the magnetic shield, cannot enter, flow past the Earth, and you think you are the king and queen of yourselves. But if you remember your class 8 days, I hope you remember, the lines of force, the magnetic lines of force of a bar magnet. In the northern and southern magnetic polar region, there was a gap. These charged particles, they enter through this gap, enters the atmosphere. Before hitting the ground, they interact with the air molecules and make them glow. And what did you get to see? Auroras. Aurora borealis in north, Aurora australis in south. These two are difficult words, difficult spelling, but amazingly, if you experience one, you'll realize how Sun is interacting with our Earth every second of our existence. This is one of the photographs that I had the opportunity to take quite some time back, almost 15, 16 years back, in the northernmost part of Norway, around 300 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. And you see the beauty of Sun and the beauty of nature. But at the same time, it tells us how Sun is interacting. And a little bit this way, that way, my friend, raise your hand and wait for things to happen. No power on Earth, nothing can stop it. Though the younger generation sometimes feel that sometimes the role models are bigger than life and they can do a lot of things to stop any bad things happening. No. You can see it for yourself in coronavirus. Now what is happening to all those Jyotishi astrologers, all those political leaders, all those people who otherwise think that they are ruling the whole thing. So nature can be a much bigger ruler in everybody's life. And it is actually this corona region that is very important because the movement of this charged particle, the density, the energy, that can definitely affect the Earth. At least the telecommunications, the satellite communication system, the satellite electronics itself can get totally jeopardized by them. So that is the reason a couple of years back, Parker Solar Probe was sent so that it will go closest to the Sun, not actually onto the Sun, but closest to the Sun to get some knowledge about our closest star, our Sun. The solar system. How did it happen? I mentioned earlier, earlier in a very brief manner. 460 crore years back, when from the disk of gas and dust our sun was getting born at the center, in the outer periphery where the temperature was little less, gas and dust condensed, coagulated, collided, and ultimately gave birth to very hot spherical objects. For millions of years, the heat dissipated away, and at least the first four, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, became rocky, solid, terrestrial, whereas the other, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are mostly made up of gas. Yes. So, four of the planets are solid, and four of the planets, some of them are worshipped by you also. For some of you, not everybody, are actually made up of gas. This is a collage of all true color pictures of planets. Mercury. Next is Venus. You do not get to see the surface of Venus, covered by a thick layer of cloud made up of concentrated sulfuric acid vapor. So when it rains on Venus, it is droplets of sulfuric acid which falls from the sky. The average in the atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide. As a result, the greenhouse effect is so critical, it being the second planet is still the hottest planet. Next is Mother Earth. Let us not talk about her tonight. Next is Mars, red. Why? It is rusting on the surface. Ferrous and ferric oxide covers the surface of Mars. But this 2002 photograph taken by Hubble Space Telescope has interested the scientists because in the polar region, they have seen white sediments. According to them, this white sediment may be a mixture of water ice, carbon dioxide ice, methane ice, and ammonia ice. Even some part of it is water ice. Maybe liquid water used to flow on the surface of Mars millions of years back. And liquid water on Earth is synonymous with life. So was there life on Mars? Is there still life on Mars? Big question. Next is Jupiter. 319 times heavier than Earth. Takes around 11.86 years to go around itself and only around 10 hours to go around itself. With a tremendous speed, it has dragged the clouds into the atmosphere and created these belt-like structures. Till today, around 76, 77 moons have been discovered on Jupiter. Next is the most beautiful planet of the solar system, Saturn. The beautiful ring system takes 29.4 years to go around the sun once. Next is Uranus with a ring. Neptune, blue in color, covered by methane-bearing clouds. Until some years back, our Nande moon, Pluto, the ninth planet, which is three major moons, Charon, Nix, and Hydra. Mars. For the last 10-15 years, whenever you have opened the newspaper, television channels, every 3 to 4 months, something in Mars. Why? Because of these sort of features that have been seen on the surface of Mars. As if liquid water has cut through mountainous region, creating these channels. So was there water, liquid water on Mars? And liquid water, a drop of liquid water on Earth is habitat for millions of life forms. So was there life on Mars? Big question. And then you see, it was 2008 when a spacecraft called Phoenix landed onto Mars with its robotic arm. As it crashed a little bit, on the left-hand side, you see on the 20th day of operation, it found these white sediments. You see in the insert 3 white pebbles. After 4 days, not to be seen. This is for the first time, probably, human civilization have found proof of water ice outside the boundary of Earth. The next picture is more dramatic. This is the wall of a crater on Mars. And you see, this picture is winter, and next is summer. You see these black fingers? Liquid water was found floating on the surface of Mars. Immediately, the scientists realized that we have to do more aggressively research and adventures and missions to Mars. That is the reason in 2012, Curiosity landed onto Mars. Among some of the first pictures it sent back, amazing. During summertime, if you are actually traveling on Chotanagpur Plateau area, moving over riverine tract on a rail bridge, you will see totally dried up riverbeds. During rainy seasons, filled up with water and floods. Totally dried up riverbeds on the surface of Mars. You get to see pebbles. How come pebbles? Because pebbles mostly occur because when big stones rolling through water got smashed up, become small, and become smooth because of the rolling of the water. And you see pebbles on Mars. So definitely there was liquid water on Mars from way back. So when the whole world was excited and thinking what to do, 2012, 15th of August, India's Independence Day, our then Prime Minister declared, India is ready for a Mars mission. Everybody in the world probably started laughing. India, Mars mission, they don't have the capability, the technological capability. But my friend, that is one of the biggest success stories of India's science and technology. One of the biggest challenge that India's ISRO's scientists had taken and successfully completed it. This program started on 6th of December 2013, sitting atop a nose cone of a PSLV X-25 rocket from the Sri Harikota Satish Dhawan Space Center. Mangalyaan Mars orbiter mission was sent up to space, and for 9 months almost it went round up to Mars, and 24th of September 8:02 AM it successfully entered the Martian orbit. My friend, young friends, believe me, we really take things for granted, but this was such a fantastic success. No country in the world ever has been able to successfully send a mission to Mars in its very first attempt. And India is the first country. It was a tremendous moment of joy and pride. But I'm not sure how much pride and joy we could see in West Bengal that day. Whatever. But throughout the country, every individual probably was extremely proud of the golden era of science and technology. The pictures taken by Mangalyaan's camera, one of the finest camera ever built, according to NASA. See, from two-dimensional photograph, they could create three-dimensional topography. The resolution is so high. Saturn, as I told you, the most beautiful planet on our solar system. This ring system, amazing. 384,000 kilometers wide, 1 to 100 kilometers in thickness. How does it mean? How much thick is a Saturn's ring? See for yourself. If I put Earth, it only takes only a small amount of space in the whole ring system. And amazingly, the ring is made up of ice crystals and pebbles. How come ice crystals and pebbles are keeping a shape and size of a ring going around Saturn is an amazing thing. And my friend, I think in the internet, in the social media, you have come across the phrase, the pale blue dot. Suppose you are in the region of this ring system, a rocket has taken you there, and you meet an alien. I don't know what is an alien, but suppose you meet an alien, and the alien asks you, who are you? What will you answer? From this distance, looking towards the Earth. You have to answer, see, my friend alien, me, 780 crore people like me, billions and billions of other life forms, all trees, all oceans, all lakes, everything is concentrated into this small point. Yes, this is the picture of Earth on the Saturn scale system. So, astronomy does a fantastic things for your ego. You all think, I am the best, I am the most powerful, I can rule the world. But from a distance, you have to think that in this small dot, you are one of the smallest dots. That is very important. Amazing. 1801, Italian astronomer Giuseppe Piazzi discovered a piece of rock 900 kilometers in diameter between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter. He named it Ceres. People thought a new planet has been discovered. But within a couple of years, 3 more, Pallas, Vesta, and Juno, each around 500 kilometers in diameter, were discovered in the same region. People realized a new class of object is getting discovered. And starting from 1801 till today, thousands and thousands and thousands pieces of rock, 10, 20, 30, 100 kilometers, have been discovered going around the sun between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter. They are called asteroids. This is a true representation of NASA. Here you see each green dot is a discovered asteroid. Imagine, we only learned Naya Navagraha. 9 planets and Sun. Forget about that. Now it is Sun and 8 planets and thousands and thousands of pieces of rock going around the Sun. And these red dots are important. They are called Apollo asteroids. What's the speciality? Their orbit intersects the orbit of Earth. That means Earth is going around the Sun on its own. One of these rocks can come and hit the Earth at any point of time, anywhere. Do you know how big the collision will be? 1/7, 1/8, 1/10 of the Earth will go apart. So, my friend, that we are alive is by sheer accident. But a lot of research is going on. If scientists discover an asteroid is coming towards the Earth, what can be done? They can send a rocket with an atom bomb, explode the atom bomb near the rocket, so that near the asteroid, so that it can disintegrate. But it has its own fallout. Gravity tractors take a huge, massive spacecraft near the asteroid, and by the motion of the spacecraft, try to gravitationally attract the asteroid and deviate it from its path of collision with the Earth. Solar cell. I already told you charged particles are coming out from the surface of the Sun. If they fall onto a sail, it will put pressure. So if you can attach a huge sail on an asteroid, the pressure of this solar radiation, particles coming out from Sun, will drive them away from its path. It was only some years back, for the first time, a Japanese spacecraft called Hayabusa took a very close-up photo of an asteroid called Itakawa 8. And you see, it is not a solid object. Loose gravels, pebbles, stones, they are loosely bound by gravity. And just 1 year, 2 years back, fantastic thing. Hayabusa 2, another satellite Japanese, actually landed onto an asteroid called Ryugu. And the picture that we are seeing in the bottom panel is probably the first ever clear picture of the surface of an asteroid. Amazing. And now the scientists are saying there is a tremendous possibility of presence of huge amount of mineral deposits on these asteroids. So the asteroid mining is becoming a buzzword among the technologically advanced nations and scientists. You are all excited in the newspaper, television channels about this visitor to our earthly neighborhood, Neowise. Actually, 3 days back, it came very close to Earth. 2 days back, 10.5 crore kilometers. But that was the closest. But you could see fantastic, this tail kind of thing. What is it? What is a comet? According to the scientists, 460 crore years back, when Sun was getting born in the central part of the disk, in the outer periphery, beyond Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, where the average temperature was minus 150 to minus 200 degrees centigrade, big chunks of ice, water ice, dry ice, ammonia ice were floating in space. These chunks of ice were colliding with each other and becoming bigger and bigger. When their size typically became 10 to 20 kilometers in diameter, they also started going around the Sun in very elliptic orbit. In their elliptic orbit, as they came close to the Sun, the ice melted and created million kilometers long tail. A comet head or nucleus is only 10, 12, 15, 20 kilometers, but the tail can be million kilometers long. Are there 9 planets in the solar system? 2003, 16th November, scientists suddenly discovered an object at the outer part of the solar system, much, much beyond Pluto, 1600 crore kilometers away from Sun. Named it 2003 UB313. It was larger than Pluto. It takes 557 years to go around the Sun once. So people started calling, if this Pluto is a planet, why don't you call these objects a planet? The new name given to this 2003 UB313 was given as Eris, E-R-I-S. Now, after a lot of debate, lot of fighting, in 2006, scientists decided to divide the objects, main objects in the solar system into 2 categories. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Let this 8 be called classical planets. And a new class of objects were nomenclatured. They were called dwarf planet. Who became the dwarf planet initially? Pluto. All these days, the ninth planet became the dwarf planet. This newly discovered Eris became the dwarf planet, and Ceres, the largest asteroid, became the dwarf planet. In 2015, two more dwarf planets have been officially incorporated. One is called Haumea, another is called Makemake. 2006, NASA started a slogan, follow liquid water. On Earth, there is a lot of liquid water. But anywhere outside the boundary of Earth, because water is synonymous with life, Mars probably has or had some liquid water. Yes, any other place? Yes, one of the moons of Jupiter called Europa. As you take the close shot, you see somebody is speaking. Please, can you mute? If you have to give me some command, give me, or if you want to just talk, mute. If you take a close-up shot of Europa, you will see scratch marks. According to the scientists, theoretically, the surface of Europa may be 10 to 15 kilometers thick water ice. Inside, there is a huge, huge volume of warm liquid water. And this warm liquid water is pushing from inside towards outside. As a result, cracks are forming on the liquids, on the frozen ice surface. And these scratch marks that you are seeing is nothing but scratch. That this theory was probably correct was proved when another spacecraft was passing over another satellite of Saturn, Enceladus, and they saw hot water geysers coming out, plumes of hot water coming out from the region, from inside, and the cracks in the ice. So they have worked on an instrument called Cryobot. 2024, two Cryobots will be sent to two missions, one to Europa and one to Enceladus. As they will land, it will drill through 10 to 15 kilometers thick ice, water ice. At the tip of this driller, there is a tremendously powerful laser source. The moment it touches the ice surface, the laser source will be switched on. And by the heat of the laser, the ice will melt and it will pass through 10 to 15 kilometers thick ice. The moment it touches liquid water, a window will open, a small robot will come out and take pictures. 2029, probably. So, my friend, just another 9, 10 years, wait for it. You will come to know life is thriving in every corner of the solar system, probably. Don't think we are special. You are not special. Life is not particular to Earth. Life is a universal process. We have not discovered life. That doesn't mean there is no other life. And don't forget, these lives, mostly multicellular or single cell, they may not be all friends to the Earth. You can find out that not even a full living cell, an inert but living, half inert virus can create so much havoc on Earth. So these sort of cellular organisms can create also a lot of problems on Earth. It is now time for a brief outing of the solar system. If you go out of the solar system, the true pictures of the sky, you will not even believe. You say, no. When I look into the sky in the evening, I see dots of light far apart and totally dark in between. Where from you are getting this photograph? Do you know why we don't see this image of the sky? Because of something called, in a human eye called perception of vision. Within 1/10 of a second, whatever amount of light enters through our pupil and falls on the retina, the optic nerve immediately takes them to the back of our head and the optic lobe to create an image. Our eyes cannot add or integrate light like a CCD chip. If our eyes were like a CCD camera, looking in a particular direction of the sky for 5, 10, 20 hours, we could have seen almost every dot in the sky. Probably there is a star. And huge gas clouds of all color, all saturations, all density, all diversity. If you ask me, all the stars like sun? Answer is yes and no. Yes, why? Most of the stars, around 91% of the stars, are burning hydrogen to helium at the core. No, because stars can come at a different initial mass, different surface temperature and different chemical compositions. In terms of mass, stars can vary in the range of 0.08 to 100 times the mass of Sun in general. What is the mass of Sun? 2 followed by 30 zeros. 2 into 10 to the power 30 kilogram is the mass of Sun. That brings me very briefly to the life and death of stars. Stars are born from the interstellar clouds of gas and dust. What do I mean by the word interstellar clouds of gas and dust? In the sky, if we look up between two stars, it seems totally dark. But totally dark doesn't mean there is nothing. Huge amount of gas cloud is there. We cannot see them. In the sky, there are regions where one can see these clouds and also star formation process. Do you want to see some of them? It's an amazing beauty of nature. Gas cloud. Interstellar gas cloud. Do you know how big is this? Around 1,000 solar systems can come out of this gas cloud. Don't mix it with the cloud in our skies. That is Earth, the third planet in the solar system from Sun, and the atmosphere, the clouds. But this cloud can produce 1,000 solar systems. The next picture is more amazing. Right? But each part, my friend, just to give you how difficult it is to do astrophysics, you have to be tremendously clever and intelligent. This is 2.5 million pixels photograph, 25 lakh pixels. Each pixel will give you some information. 10 to 12 PhDs can come out of this single photograph. You see in the top this greenish blue, oxygen 5, oxygen 6. This blue, neutral hydrogen. This yellow, sulfur. This black, probably iron. This green, zinc or molybdenum. This white, titanium. Don't forget, the only signal of light comes from a star to us. You cannot bring down a star to your lab, cut it open, put chemical test, it, smell it and say, this is this. It's extremely difficult and intelligent people can only survive to succeed in astrophysics. That you have to understand. The pictures are great, wow. But my friend, each picture takes enormous amount of computing, enormous amount of understanding of physics, chemistry, mathematics, statistics, computation to decipher all this depth of the secrets of the cosmos. See for yourself. Amazing. Do you know how big is this? You see this? See these small dots over here? Do you know how big is each dot? Each dot inside has a fully formed solar system. Now think of the whole. Nature is throwing a challenge to us, to human intellect. That you think you know so much, right? Try to understand. Try to go away from all the things which are very not necessary at all in your life and try to go deeper into these concepts. Right? That is amazing. For yourself, see. These are called pillars of creation. 3 columns of dust which absorbs light and looks dark. With a tremendous pressure, they are moving upwards. And with the pressure that is generated in the tip, every now and then, new stars are getting born. These are called stellar nursery. Think of this, my friend. And this. Can you believe it? Millions of stars in a small region. If our sun was a member of this object, the average temperature in your room or my room or in your college would have been 250 to 300 degrees centigrade. Nobody would have been around. Nobody. Everything would have been pure ash. But we are lucky that we are sitting somewhere where the temperature is quite cool. We can survive. We can do a lot of things. We can jump up and down. We can play. We can eat. We can do political dramas. But there are regions. We are seeing those regions. This is amazing. Millions of stars. Stars die. Stars die in different ways depending upon their masses. Let us talk about stars with initial masses 1 to 8 times the sun's mass. As it is written here, they end their life as planetary nebula and white dwarf. What does it mean? Let us take sun. Sun is burning hydrogen and helium at the center. How long? According to the scientists, according to their calculation, sun has enough hydrogen at the core region to burn for another 500 crore years. After 500 crore years, when all the hydrogen gets converted to helium, the thermonuclear fusion reaction will stop, the energy generation will stop, the outward pressure will stop, but gravity is there. So sun will become smaller. As it is becoming smaller, the temperature will rise. And near the surface, below the surface, because of the constriction of the gas, temperature will slowly start rising and reach a fascinating level of 1.5 crore degrees centigrade. The temperature that was earlier at the core. And at that temperature, the helium in the outer periphery will fuse together and produce helium. The reaction that was happening at the center core will now happen near the surface. Huge amount of energy will be produced, and as the energy tries to come out, because of the heat, the gas will expand. So, after 500 crore years later, our sun will start becoming smaller. Suddenly it will stop, and it will start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and ultimately will touch, believe me, my friends, the orbit of Earth. Yes, Mercury, Venus, Earth will cease to exist much before that. We'll all become a part of the sun. Don't worry, 500 crore years is not a small amount of time. We will not be there. We are worried about 5 days with coronavirus, whether we will be alive or not. Whatever. So at this stage, the star of the sun will be called a red giant. When the outside is becoming bigger, the inner core, the helium core, because of gravitational contraction, it will contract and the temperature will rise slowly to 10 crore degrees centigrade. At 10 crore degrees centigrade, one thing happens. 3 helium nuclei, they come and fuse together and produce a 12 carbon nucleus. Helium to carbon. When this reaction again starts, again energy flows out, the inside helium ball stops becoming smaller. But soon, when all the helium is transformed to carbon, then what happens? Outer layers have become so big, it starts slowly in the region, creating a cloud-like structure called Planetary Nebula. The word nebula means cloud. Nebulizer, you use nebula means cloud. And planetary, why? Because of the formation stage of our planetary system, from the disk of gas and dust, planets came out. And the end phase of the star, again the gas, this, and the envelope is happening. When the outside is becoming a planetary nebula, the inside core, because it is hot, carbon, but it cannot become more constricted because the initial mass is 1 to 8 times solar mass, and raise the temperature to 100,000, 10,000 crore degrees centigrade. Because at that higher temperature, carbon will fuse to oxygen, silicon, sulfur, neon. So the inside of the sun's core or the star's core become a hot ball of carbon in the sky. It will look very bright. It will be called a white dwarf. By that time, the outside nebula has slowly started dissipating into the interstellar medium. You see this picture. True color picture of planetary nebula, my friend. And you see, the material is not coming out continuously. It is coming out in shells. So it is long time back, me and some of my friends, we did a little bit of computation and showed that these shells are moving with tremendous speed. Mach 3, Mach 5, Mach 8, Mach being the velocity of sound. And with that, it is producing tremendous amount of shock waves. And we could show through simulations, and later on it was all discovered that the shock front, just behind the shock front, huge number of molecules can form. Amazing. And that started almost in my life a very vibrant part of astronomy, astrochemistry. The study of synthesis of molecules in space and their use in determining the properties of interstellar matter. Right? You'll be amazed to know the interstellar organic molecule. Amazing. From now on, if anybody says there is life on Earth and nowhere else, he's the biggest fool. Any object, any star produces the raw biotic material for life to happen. If I take the next level of death of stars, next massive level, 8 to 25 times the initial mass of sun, there at the center, hydrogen to helium, to carbon, to oxygen, one after another, to neon, to magnesium, to silicon, one after another fusion reaction will occur. And ultimately, it will end up into iron. Because iron is, you really cannot squeeze or raise the temperature of an iron nuclei or a couple of nuclei to fuse. So as a result, the center will become an inert iron core. The thermonuclear fusion reaction is stopped. So all these layers by gravity is falling towards the core. And as they slam onto the core, they get a recoil and they start again coming outwards, as if there was an implosion happens. And this is called a supernova explosion. In a fraction of a second, all the naturally occurring elements starting from iron, most of them gets produced in a fraction of a second. And since they cannot be produced in huge quantities in a fraction of a second, they are rare. And on Earth, we call them rare earth elements. A huge outpouring of energy, huge outpouring of material. And to be very truthful, my friend, if you ask yourself, close your eyes and ask yourself, where from an iron atom in your blood has entered your body? Where from a calcium atom in your bones, in your teeth, has entered? You'll be amazed to know that each atom of iron in your blood, each atom of calcium in your bones, sodium, potassium, magnesium, whatever your body is made up of, atom by atom was literally created millions of years back inside a star. So, my friend, instead of dividing among ourselves, boys and girls, rich and poor, educated, illiterate, right? This party, that party, don't forget, each one of us, each object around us is made up of star stuff, star material. And in the truest sense of the term, not in a religious way, not in a philosophical way, but in a very physical way, we are all star children. That is the biggest understanding that scientists have got in the last couple of 100 years studying the sky. But every other naturally occurring elements have been produced by astrophysical processes, either inside stars or through some explosions. So, the dark depth of the space, which we think is totally dark and nothing is there, don't feel that way. A huge amount of activity is going on. A chemistry continuously changing, shifting, synthesizing, and ultimately becoming more complex. And this has given rise to a fantastic feeling. When the question came to human mind, who am I? Where from I have come? How to create life on Earth? Till today, they have realized they cannot create life on Earth. So the theory which is gaining much more popularity is that life came from space. Don't think aliens came from space. It is the prebiotic, inanimate material which was injected to Earth by the collision of comets, asteroids, other things. And that, given the proper atmosphere, environment, temperature, liquid water, suddenly sprang into life. So, the complexity of life can only be understood if you understand the complexity of the cosmos, of the stellar synthesis, of the stellar dynamics. And this has given rise to another branch called astrobiology. Now, friend, please tell me, can you find a subject, astronomy, astrophysics, astrochemistry, astrobiology, astromathematics, astrostatistics, astrocomputing, all branches of science coming together, mixing into a sea of astronomy. And one more thing, you must have noticed I've left out deliberately astrology. Astrology is not a science. Till now, nobody can prove that astrology is science. Astrology is repetitive, its prediction is repetitive, or you can predict something like that. So, try to be cautious. Try not to believe in beliefs, because science tells you to be analytic minded. Science tells you to judge which is the correct, which is the wrong. So, astronomy has opened up a new window in our mind. With the technological advancement, the picture, the color, the wonder of the cosmos that you can see is telling us that though we think we know a lot, but we have only experienced a minuscule part of the nature. much there is for us to adventure out, to find out, to do research, to think, to imagine, and ultimately come out with the truth of nature. Thank you very much for this wonderful occasion for me.
Thank you, sir. That was an amazing and wonderful presentation. Very, very knowledgeable and helpful for us. Most thank you for the statement, but out of now, due to shortage of time, the questions, few of questions and queries regarding this topic has been selected by our HOD ma'am, Department of Mathematics, Professor Rita Sundari, during this webinar, and she has focused on the most important questions among all. Sorry, since we couldn't consider all the questions. So now she will be presenting them to our esteemed guest of honor, Professor Buari. So I would request ma'am to take the charge. Ma'am, can we have you on the screen, please? RC ma'am, are you there? Devangan, I am audible? Yes, ma'am, you are audible, but can you please speak louder? Okay. Thanks to Dr. Juari for the valuable speech which has enriched us. It is our question answer session. The first question from Indonath Bhattacharya. Indonath Bhattacharya. Does the secondary tide occurs due to centrifugal force, or it is the same gradient of force is responsible for the secondary high tide? Please, Juari.
Can you please read this? It's a long thing. I couldn't follow it fully. Can you please? Okay.
Does the secondary tide occurs due to centrifugal force, or it is the same gradient of force being responsible for the secondary high tide?
Yes, it is true. Centrifugal force. That's what I told you. The side facing the moon is the gravitational, that is more, and the opposite 180 degree away is the centrifugal force. Yeah, good question.
Okay. The second question is from Devojit Maiti. How the rotation motion of Earth on its own axis was started?
It is mostly because these planets were mostly formed because of innumerable collisions at the beginning of the solar system. And these collisions have given rise to rotations with different tilt and different sort of speed and everything.
Okay. The question from Veena Sharkar. Why does only Saturn have rings but not for other planets?
No, my friend. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all four have rings. But Saturn rings are more spectacular. They are more visible even from Earth by a small telescope. But in the recent times, they have discovered and found, taken pictures in the NASA side, you can see rings of Jupiter, rings of Uranus, rings of Neptune as well.
And the question from Mona Lisa Raj, huge number of satellites are being projected in the universe by different countries. What harmful effects and challenges would be created due to these projections?
These satellites, they are trying to do good things for human civilization. But at the same time, they are creating a very dangerous problem, which is called the space junk. The tremendously huge number of useless satellites which are still orbiting the Earth, sometimes getting broken in many parts, and each part, even at a small amount, can create destruction to new satellites that are being sent, rockets that are being sent. So the space debris problem is a big problem. But satellites on their own, their functions, are in general beneficial, apart from the spy satellites or military satellites. In general, they're beneficial for human mankind. Next.
Another question offered, is there any way to clean the satellite waste from the solar system?
A lot of thoughts are being discussed, but nobody for sure knows how to have a holistic approach of cleaning up the debris, the satellite debris. This is one of the burning questions, right? and the space weather and space environment are the new terminologies scientists are coming out.
The question from Vishwajit Jana, what is black hole and how it is created? Is there any black hole in our solar system?
Black holes are end products of very heavy, massive stars. I didn't discuss it today because if a star is quite big, then it cannot go through a supernova explosion. The gravity will slowly contract and make it come to almost what is known as a singularity. A singularity, basically, it's some sort of an aberration on space-time. The laws of physics doesn't work the way we think laws of physics works. Right? It cannot come out from that region. Any object nearby feels a gravitational tug towards that singularity. So, since light cannot come in our solar system, there is only one hero, one actor, one main object, our sun. Thank you.
Question from Srikon Vitro, how does the phenomena parallax used to determine distances between different astronomical bodies?
Parallax method is basically what is used even by survey people. When you see at the side of the road somebody with a long pole-like thing looking through a lens, actually they are looking at the parallax. They are doing the parallax measurement, right? So on the background of a distant object, in the foreground there is another object whose distance you are measuring. If you look from one angle, the background will be something else. If you look from another angle, the background will be something else. So if you can measure how much is this shift and what is the angle, you can measure what is the distance.
Question from Raymond Ahmed, how we can discover the other floating in other galaxies, but no satellites has gone to other galaxies. How scientists discover it?
They discover it by the light they emit, right? If suppose you are standing on the roof of your house, please don't present Mr. Darshan. If you are standing at the roof of your house and you are very, very bright, then even from my house, without actually going to your house, I can see. Same.
Okay. Question from Jebagdi Guho, what is Messier 83?
Messier, in general, is named after Charles Messier, a French astronomer who looked into the sky long time back and identified 101 very peculiar type of objects. Those objects today, now some of them are galaxies, some of them are sort of very intense point of light, different nebulas. So these are called M1, M2, M83, M101, so on. I take a question and then we'll finish because quite a number of questions.
Okay, this is the last one. Question from Shubhodip Bandyopadhyay. Is there any relationship between asteroid and origin of life in Earth as well as disappearance of discovered dinosaur from Earth?
Very good question. Absolutely beauty. The last question is the beauty. Yes. According to the scientist, it is the asteroids and comets around 250, 300 crore years back which brought liquid water to Earth. And according to the panspermia theory, astrobiologists as you mentioned, probably these collisions also seeded the Earth materials of life. And according to one of the latest theories, 65 million years back, 6.5 crore years back, everything became extinct. Ice age started because of a huge rock around 7 kilometers, which fell in the Chicxulub Peninsula, right? And this has created so much of dust to go around the atmosphere and stop the sunlight coming to the Earth's surface. Ice age started, and almost everybody got extinct. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tiwari, for your valuable speech. Now over to Devangana in the session.
Thank you, sir, for answering the questions. Now I would like to invite our Professor Davajam Shekhar sir on the screen for giving the voting thanks. Sir, are you there? Sir, can you be please louder?
Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
A very good evening to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all the dignitaries assembled here in this webinar. On behalf of Department of Mathematics, New College, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Nilprasad Wali, Director, Research and Academy, MP Birla Institute of Fundamental Research, MP Birla Planetary, an informative talk on Cosmic Voyage. Webinar was
Thank you.
I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. Jaideep Sarangi, for his continuous encouragement and support during this webinar. My heartfelt thanks to our vice principal sir, Professor Divesh Bera, for his guidance and encouragement.
গ্যাসটা খোলা আছে নাকি দেখ
I would also like to thank Dr. Syamabrata Das, IQAC coordinator, New College, for this joint venture. My heartfelt thanks to our HOD ma'am, Professor Rita Chaudhary, and our Varsha sir, Professor Govindalal Mandal, for such a wonderful arrangement. I would like to thank Professor Archita Pramani, Professor Rajiv Karmakar, and Professor Aniruddha Kar for technical support. My heartfelt thanks to our beloved audience for making this event a great success. Thank you, Devangana, for anchoring this event. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our beloved students and all the members of Clava Mathematica and New College for their relentless effort to make this webinar a great success. Once again, I thank one and all present here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm leaving the meeting.
So with this, we'll mark the end to this webinar. Thank you all. And now
Please, everybody fill up the feedback form. It will remain active till 5:50 p.m. After 5:50 p.m., no certificate claim will entertain. Please fill up the feedback form. It is given in the chat box. Dear participants, please fill up the feedback form. It will active till 5:50 p.m. After that, no certificate claim will entertain. Thank you all.
আরেকবার লিংকটা দিন।
লিংকটা পাচ্ছি না।
Okay.
লিংকটা আরেকবার রিপিট তো মানে চ্যাট বক্সে দাও।
হ্যাঁ বলুন। কেন এক্ষুনি ছাড়লাম তো, দেখুন।
ইউটিউব লিঙ্ক ফিডব্যাক লিঙ্কটা আরেকবার এখানে পেস্ট করো তো চ্যাট বক্সে, ওখানে খোলা যাচ্ছে না ইউটিউব থেকে। আরেকবার করো, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ।
Dear participants, please fill up. Please give your feedback within 5:50 p.m. After that, the link inactive. After 5:50, the link will inactive. So after 5:50, you cannot fill up the feedback form. So please fill up feedback form within 5:50.
এবার দেখা যাচ্ছে।
No, the date is not showing properly in the certificate. Hello?
Hello?
The date is not showing properly in the certificate.
ঠিক আছে আমি দেখছি। ঠিক আছে আমি দেখছি। Hello?
Hello?
মেন কাজ ছিল, আমি এখন কাজ করছি, পরে মেন কাজ ছিল, এখন
Hello?
তোমার কি টাকা ফোন করো।